Not only can you see them as static objects, but you can build platforms on top of them and navigate to them and understand how they're changing and obsess about them in the way that you should, and to understand what we're really doing to the planet and hopefully even fix it before it's too late. Pretty important. You could clearly have all the world's information at your fingertips because we can translate everything to everything else. Now, I don't know if that will prevent war, but it will certainly increase the amount of talking before war, right? An awful lot of conflict has been fundamentally due to misunderstanding of culture. Humans are generally good and generally want the same things, and yet we don't talk to each other enough. Now we can do it, and we can understand the depth of the culture when we're sitting across the other side of the table. You know what to pay attention to right now. I don't know about you all, but there's so much coming in, but the computer can help you sort out. We can help figure out what you should be spending your time on. We can give you a priority list that's tailored to you. All of a sudden, you're not lost. You can love the earth. You can talk to anybody you want to in the globe. Pretty interesting. Even better, you're never lonely. There's always people around you. And if they're not physically with you, they're certainly online with you 24 hours a day. And when you're jet lagged, you can turn on and you can talk to your friends in another set of time zones, and they're there as if you were there. And you're never bored, because not only are there things to do, but we can suggest even new things for you. So a lifelong life of entertainment and knowledge is possible. And you're never out of ideas, right? Because we can always suggest new ideas, what you can do, what you could do next, and so forth. And imagine a calendar of all the world's events, all the interesting things that are going on. All of a sudden, it's a potpourri for all of us to choose from, all because of the ability to understand what you care about, get that to you in real time on these new mobile devices, and use the supercomputers that are in the cloud to properly sort them so you're not completely overwhelmed. And of course, your car drives itself. It's obvious that cars should drive themselves. They probably drive themselves home better than you will when you're drunk. You know, it seems sort of obvious if you think about it. It needs to have a kill switch in case there's a few bugs, but you get the idea. This is coming. It will be decades, I suspect, not a year, but it's coming. But what's most important about this future, which I've not said, is it's a future for the masses, not the elites. Historically, information was something that was held to the elites, to the rich people, to the educated people. And the thing that I am proudest of, and I share this, I think, with all of you, is that because of your work in spreading mobile devices, 2 billion people will enter our conversation who we've never heard from in the next 3 to 4 years. We don't know what they care about. Will they love Britney Spears as much as we do, or will they care about other things? I have no idea. But the important point is that they are coming. And they're coming with human values, human concerns, human problems. And because of the architecture, because of the scale, because of the designs that you all helped build at this conference over these many years, it's possible, and it will change their lives so much more than it changed any of ours. And that's what I'm proudest of. So this is a future that's very much committed to doing good. It's a future where our technology, our approach, should give people something that matters to them, which is time. It should give them time back. It's a quote from the New York Times from William Gibson. Google is made of us, a sort of coral reef of human minds and their products. I hope we can all, working together, fulfill what I consider to be an extraordinary vision of what technology can do to make mankind a better experience and make the world a better place. Thank you so very much. I think we have, I think they're bringing up the lights. I think we have time for questions or comments on anything I said. I think we have mics. There's one there, there's one there, there's one over here. Could we get some questions or comments on this or anything else? There's a question here, a question there. Other questions over there. There's a question here. Go ahead. Who has the mic first?
Thank you, firstly, on behalf of everyone here. My name's Ben. I'm from Australia, and you mentioned about personalisation. I'm very excited about that myself, and talking about those sorts of things with a major telco in Australia at the moment, it's forefront of mind, and it's certainly spoken about quite a bit. To expand a little bit further on that, delivering more service and being of more value that Google has really shown the advertising world very successfully. Mm-hmm. When do you think that the advertising world will respond to that and pick it up? Because really you're still leading the way, And there's a big gap between what you're doing and what, I guess, the general market of advertisers are doing, pushing rather than presenting and serving the general population of the world.
Let me start by saying that Australia is leading the world in understanding the importance of fiber. Your new Prime Minister, as part of her campaign and now as in the Prime Ministership, has announced that by roughly, I think, 2015, 2016, 93% of Australians, which I guess are all the folks in the cities, will have gigabit or equivalent service using fiber, and the other 7% will be handled through wireless services of the nature of LTE. This is leadership, and again, from Australia, which I think is wonderful. One way to think about ads in the future is to think about the creativity of ads that you see on television, which are phenomenal. Just, we all know what I'm talking about, and then apply that to a mobile device in a personal way. And to me, the tools and technologies that would allow us to do targeted TV quality ads that are targeted to the unique nature of the individual, again, with their permission and without violating their privacy, which is the key thing, is the next great frontier in advertising. If you look at our display business, which is booming, the display business is fundamentally about telling stories. And as we get better at targeting them, you'll get a better ad. And a better ad is more satisfying to the viewer, right? Because who wants to see an ad that's not relevant to them? And it produces a better return on investment. And I always try to remind people that people advertise to get revenue. They don't advertise because it's fun to see the ads that they paid for. They actually are trying to sell something. It's called commerce. And the evidence that we have in the internet is because the internet is so highly measurable, these ROI-based ads, return on investment ads, are the ones that customers seek first. So there are many, many companies involved in developing these new, more highly targeted, I'll call them display-based or narrative-based ads for this next generation of phones, likely multi-billion-dollar businesses right in front of us. Some more questions. Over here. Yes, ma'am.
My name is John Strand from Strand Consult.
Yes, hi.
Hi. I have a question regarding Android. You said you will recommend young students come out of university to go mobile first and develop for these platforms. But what we see right now is that Android is a very fragmented platform, that if you develop an application for Android on one device, it actually don't run on other devices. And I think there's a lot of frustration among phone manufacturers and also particularly among developers regarding these challenges. What would you do to avoid that the Android platform is not so fragmented in the future as it is today?
We hear some of this. I think you've stated the problem more strongly than I would, but I'll accept that as feedback. Under the terms of our licenses and the open handset agreement, we have an anti-fragmentation clause for all of the vendors who are precisely required to track a set of APIs. The real way in which this is kept together is because of the importance of the App Store. No operator will want to be in the Android ecosystem without getting the benefit of all those applications. And so conformity to those apps, which is what you get with the basic Android releases, I think will serve as the appropriate carrot and stick to get that, rather than forcing everybody lockstep along the platform. In our case, we've released Gingerbread, which everyone is upgrading to. That upgrade takes a month or two, and at that point, everyone will be on a common platform, which should address a lot of your concerns. Yes. Yes, sir.
It's Thomas Christofferson from MoneyGram. Hi.
Hi.
I just wondered if you could share your vision in terms of Google's role on the financial side of people's lives in the future.
By financial, you mean in terms of financial
services, the money, managing the money?
So, yeah, we're not into banking as a bank.
And payments, maybe, then.
Oh, okay, good. So, yeah, so Larry and Sergey have periodically suggested we should offer something called Google Bucks. And I pointed out the regulation issues, et cetera, so it's probably not going to happen. The serious answer is that there's another sort of mega scale opportunity right in front of us. This phone has this chip called the NFC chip, near field, and you guys know what these things do. It has basically an 80-character secure element that's very difficult to break. It's encrypted. And it can be used as a secure ID for electronic transactions. In Europe, which tends to lead many of the governments and the credit card issues and so forth, are working over the next few months to standardize on the use of NFC chips for payments and tap and pay systems. So it goes something like this. You're walking down the street, you're confused, which I am typically. What do I do? And your phone remembers that I need new pants, right? Or in some way, or need some new product. And it knows where I am, and it knows ahead of me is a store on the left and the store on the right. And one is going to offer me a 20% discount, and the other one's going to offer me a 30% discount. It shows me those two offers. It programmed that I'm a cheapskate, and so I always take the biggest discount on a net revenue basis, and tells me turn right. I walk into the store knows I'm coming, the pants are ready, I sit there and go boom, and out I go. You don't think this is going to work, guys? Trust me. Think about consumerism. So that model, or some variant of it, in terms of the speed with which electronic transactions can do, should revolutionize both electronic commerce as well as payments. And I think in that are very large businesses, because you know where the person is. Again, this is all opt-in, so they have to want it and so forth and so on. You can see, if you look at the success of Groupon in the United States and here in Germany and a couple of other countries, you can see that these models around consumerism really are working when they're tied to advertising and location. So, yeah. Let's see, in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Sara Bonifazio, Agenzia ANSA Italia. Mobile operator in this morning asked more cooperation in the TLC ecosystem, maybe sharing the cost of investment in the network. And Mrs. Crow, I met her in the morning, says that she's also very interested in cooperation in new business contest. What do you think about? And another question, are you interested in Twitter, and do you have contact?
Well, first place, we love Twitter, and I like to tweet. With respect to this question of cooperation, one of the most important things for us to do is to recognize that the investment cost of the operators is very, very high. And in particular, in the wireless space, there's a real issue around wireless capacity. And you see this in many of the countries where this explosion, because the demands are going faster than the wireless capacity. So a couple of things have to happen. First, governments have to make more bandwidth available. They need to reuse bandwidth that's inefficiently used to serve their citizens better. It's part of it, and that's occurring, but it's occurring, in my view, too slowly. The second thing is that we and others are sharing, for example, search revenue. When you search, if you do a partnership with Google, we'll share in the search revenue on mobile devices, and that seems to help. A third thing that we need to do is to recognize that most people will operate in a world where there's a 3G, 4G, LTE frequency band, and also they'll have a Wi-Fi connection. So think of it as having phones that have an automatic ability to understand that if it's something that can be done in batch, it's done at night, or it's done in slow networks, to respect the cost and infrastructure and don't overload the big public networks. And all of that can be done relatively easily by technology. So I think that's a pretty good summary of where we are. Let's see, we had this question down here. Yes, yes, sir.
Sverker Brundin, Computer Sweden. I think people are a bit confused about the different versions of your operating systems. Android 2.3 for phones, 3.0 for tablets, and also the Chrome OS.
Okay.
When will we see devices with Chrome OS?
Okay. So I understand the confusion, and I do apologize for it. Sometimes these things occur because the teams are running so quickly. Today, I'll use the commonly used names. We have an operating system called Gingerbread, which is the one for mobile phones. We have an operating system that's being previewed now, which you saw in the demo, for tablets called Honeycomb. The two of them, and notice that starts with a G, and then the next one starts with an H. You can imagine that the follow-on will start with an I, will be named after a dessert, and it will then combine the capabilities of both the G and the H releases. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. These releases occur on a roughly 6-month cycle, so on the order of 6 months later. And you can find the technical details on our websites, and you'll see all the capability there. There's a separate effort called Chrome OS, which is unrelated in the following sense. Chrome OS is take Chrome and build a completely new operating system largely targeted at netbooks and PCs. So one way to understand the division right